In the news today, President Trump has proposed a tiered withdrawal and end to the Gaza war, which will see Israel leaving at different stages and phases without occupying or annexing the Gaza Strip, as long as Gaza disarms its terrorist wing and Hamas is disabled from power. The plan met with approval from both Benjamin Netanyahu and leaders of multiple Arab and Middle Eastern states. YouTube has agreed to pay President Trump $24 million in settlement over their censorship of him following the January 6th Capitol riot. The administration is also anticipating a government shutdown this week as negotiations stall with Democratic leaders in both the House and the Senate, and 100,000 government employees are expected to resign starting tomorrow. And finally, the president has threatened tariffs on foreign-made films at 100%. In the news today, failures at reconciliation between the Trump administration and congressional Democrats and a failed vote in the Senate means that at midnight tonight Eastern Time, the government will indeed shut down, threatening tons of services and over 100,000 jobs. In the news today, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced that the UK will be treating the Manchester synagogue attack that killed 2 people on the Jewish holy days as an act of terrorism. In the news today, after shooting down a 4th Venezuelan boat that was suspected of drug smuggling, the Trump administration prepares for all-out long-term conflict with Venezuela. Conflicts have broken out in Portland as the Trump administration has deployed the National Guard and ICE to enforce immigration laws, despite protestations from the local and state government. Speaking of governments, the shutdown will continue until next week as Senate Republicans blocked a vote to fund the U.S. government. Despite the fact that 1/3 of the White House staff is on furlough, the Department of Government Efficiency will continue running. In one of the most controversial sentencings in American history, rapper P. Diddy, Sean Combs, has been sentenced to 4 years in prison, convicted of only 2 charges. And finally, Hamas has agreed to President Trump's ultimatum and ceasefire, which will include negotiating the release of all remaining hostages, both alive and dead, and a potential end to the October 7th war. In the news today, the U.S. dollar, seeing multi-week drops, has lost nearly 10% of its value over the last year. Former NFL quarterback and star Mark Sanchez was hospitalized earlier after being stabbed, and President Trump has demanded Israel stop bombing Gaza so that the hostages can be released. In the news today, in an about-face from the Trump administration's first term, which produced the COVID-19 vaccine, the Centers for Disease Control, under the direction of the Department of Health and Human Services and Robert F. Kennedy's anti-vax mandates, is no longer broadly recommending the COVID vaccine. Today, 4 people and the shooter are dead at a Michigan megachurch of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints after a gunman opened fire with 100 people inside. And battling corruption charges and failing to get any traction, Eric Adams has dropped out of his bid for another chance to be the mayor of New York, leaving the field between Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani. In the news today, both Elon Musk and Bill Gates, 2 of the richest men on Earth, have been named in the Epstein files, although indications of wrongdoing are still looming. And just as it happened with Boston, Chicago, and New Orleans, President Trump is sending the National Guard to Portland despite the protestations of its mayor and the governor of Oregon. It's part of his larger crackdown on crime and immigration enforcement agenda. As Europe bolsters its defenses, and despite the fact that the U.S. has pulled away from peace talks with Russia, it has agreed to sell $90 billion worth of arms to the Ukrainians. Meanwhile, Poland is scrambling its air force to resist any onslaughts from the Russians, while Germany has promised to shoot down any Russian drones that enter its airspace. And finally, with a government shutdown looming and the potential for many federal employees to lose their jobs, Democratic leaders in both the House and the Senate are planning to meet with President Trump at the White House on Monday to continue negotiations to avoid a shutdown.